let's get into the Giants news here. So the Giants have been doing, of course, their top 100 players here to go along with their, 100th season special stuff they're doing here, along with the Fan Fest and all we just talked about. And they released the next 10. So we're down to players 60 through 51. And of course,
halfway there.
Yes. We're after this we will be.
Yep.
I will not live in a prayer. I don't know what the rent is.
Whoa.
Rent too damn high.
Yeah. These days it's terrible.
So we ended off on JPP. Was our 61?
You know me.
And now we're down to number 60. Jumbo Elliott, the tackle, played with us from 88 to 95 there. One-time Pro Bowler, one-time Super Bowl winner. Played an additional 6 years for the Jets as well because he traveled with Parcells over to Jetland there. So he's a guy that not just with the Giants history, but New York football history in general is well thought of there. Little higher than I expected, I got to say. A little higher than I expected for Jumbo. He definitely deserves to be on this list. I'm not sure 60 is the spot.
Yeah.
Call me crazy. I mean, I feel like we've had a lot of good offensive linemen. Not necessarily a lot of great ones. And that's where Jumbo goes into. Again, he's a Pro Bowler. He's a Super Bowl winner. He's a really good player, had a long history. But he's not the guy that's like perennial Pro Bowler. Like, that's the guys I'm expecting us to start going into here soon. We got, 35 Giants, by the way, in the Hall of Fame? So we're getting down to where if you're not in the Hall of Fame, you shouldn't be this high on this list. That's what we're getting into here soon, guys. So, next up, Victor Cruz. Another guy I was a little shocked on. I love me some Victor Cruz, a little salsa dance here, but I think it's a little high for a guy who only played with us for 6 years and only had a few years of really being elite like that. Played with us from 2010 to 2016, one-time Pro Bowler, one-time Super Bowl winner again, 1,536 yards in 2011. And that's really the one that makes him so famous. That and the salsa dance, basically.
100%.
To be honest, people love the salsa dance, and I get it. Listen, it's fun. It's enjoyable.
They love the story as well.
You're not wrong there. Yeah, I mean, undrafted free agent. Gets hurt preseason after looking good and comes back the next year and just crushes it. I mean, yeah, it's a really good story. Like, it could be like a movie, like the Kurt Warner story kind of was, like, we could do that. Is the guy from Shazam available? He do it again. Somehow I don't think he'd be who they cast, but
no, that's definitely there's a word for that, but let's not go down that rabbit hole.
That's not the guy. That's not not the guy we choose. What about the guy from what's that TV show? New Girl. And he's been in like a bunch of movies now. I think he's got like a spot.
Winston?
And all. Yeah, Winston from that.
Yeah.
He'd
be fantastic.
Yeah, he could probably do it. I don't know if he could do a serious role. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked here.
Yeah.
Number 58. Pops are riddling down and keep going, guys. Pop. Yeah. So number 58. And now we're going old school, guys. We're going old school. Ray Wietecha, center, played from 1953 to 1962. Four-time Pro Bowler, one-time first team All-Pro, two-time second team AP All-Pro. And even after his playing days were over, he turned into the OC for Vince Lombardi during the first two Super Bowls. So even outside of the Giants, he's got a pretty good NFL history there going as well. But listen, this is what I'm saying. And again, I don't mean to disrespect anybody, guys. Listen, all these guys in this list so far, I really haven't complained too much about individuals being on the list. But we're going to nitpick a little on where these guys are on the list. You got two one-time Pro Bowlers we just went past. One that had a flashy short career. One that had a long career that didn't necessarily have the flashes. I think my fair and my assessments there.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be rude about it, but we're cutting corners here because we're cutting splitting hairs here because
really
we're
simplified how that was.
The best there. Like, that's where we're at. But here's the guy. He's a four-time Pro Bowler, made 3 different All-Pro teams, and he's right below somebody who's a one-time Pro Bowler. Another guy was a one-time Pro Bowler. Like, are you legit going to tell me that he's not much better than those guys? Again, going based on what he did against his peers, which is always how I judge players. Are you going to tell me JPP doesn't have a better career than those two?
A lot longer.
I'm just saying. Like I said, I'm not trying to hate. I'm just hating the rankings a little bit, not the players.
Yeah, but I mean, we also have to take a step back because it's not just their careers; it's their Giant career.
Yes,
what they did for the Giants and what they did for the Giants at the time.
Yeah, and JPP had his best seasons as a Giant.
Oh, you're not wrong. I'm just saying you can't. You said career. I just want to make sure that this is based on their career as a Giant.
Oh, and that's all I put for the stats as far as what they played and what they did for their playing time. That's all I put. That's what I'm saying. You got a guy who was there 10 years, and almost half those years made an All-Pro team, and you barely have him ranked above people that are one-time Pro Bowlers. Just doesn't seem quite right. And granted, part of the problem you run into is when you're an old player at that point. Listen, I don't know about you, but I didn't see him play live in 1957. So I mean,
no,
that's part of the issue you run into.
My old man wasn't even a wet dream at that point.
Yeah, 57. My parents were both alive at that point. My parents were being born as he started playing football, like in the NFL. So that's what we're talking about age wise here. So it's like, I get it. Like none of us has seen him play. And I think that's probably what hurts his ranking a little bit. I just think that it's a little off where it should be. And I'm not sure if he needs to be lower. The guys need to be higher. But I think JPP definitely had a better career than those two. So next up.
Fair.
Ward Cuff, halfback and kicker. We're going to those days.
Old school.
Multiple positions here. Playing with the Giants here from 1937 to 1945. Woo! That's where we're at. We got 3-time NFL All-Star because there was no Pro Bowl back then. It was the All-Star game. 5-time second-team All-Pro. 1-time NFL champion there. He was the Giants' all-time scoring leader when he retired. His number 14 is retired by the Giants. And I'm starting to see, as I look at this stuff, it's some old-school hate, I feel like.
I think so.
Like 5-time second-team All-Pro. You retired his number. And he's number 57? Are you going to tell me there's 57 people worthy of retiring their numbers? You wouldn't have many available numbers.
No. I mean,
go to triple digits. What's your jersey number? 127?
Yeah. Ooh, 114 in honor of Cuff.
But I just think there's going to be some hate for the old school, I feel like, in this to a certain degree. And this is just the stuff that I'm seeing here. We have another old school guy that I coming up later here that I swore would have been a top 10, top 15 Giant of all time. And
there's definitely a few of them coming up. But like the only thing I could come back to is like the level of play 80 years ago. It's not the level of play it is today. I understand what you're saying. But I don't know the algorithm 100% of how they figured it out because
it was a voting process.
But I'm saying, like, so it is a voting process. All right, yeah. So
it was a voting process that Giants writers and different people with the Giants and Bob Pop and all those guys did, and Bob Pop is one who hosted and talks about these players here. But,
I'm just saying, like, if you put Victor Cruz and time traveled him back to 1937, 1940, do you think he has the same career he had as a Giant now, or does he play that much better?
But if the queen had balls, she'd be the king. Like, you can do the one.
I understand it.
That's my issue I got with this whole thing. Like, and this is what I say all the time. And this is not
I think
when I compare players, I compare how they dominated their era.
And you have to. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate when you say you don't understand how things go on. Like, you have to.
Same as the old Jordan LeBron debate. Like, Jordan was on an island by himself. Nobody was his caliber. LeBron's always had somebody his caliber, whether it's Curry, Durant, whoever at that point, Kobe, there always was somebody that was right there with LeBron. LeBron had the longevity, and that's what's making his career going to look so great. Besides the fact that he was already a top 5 player in the NBA history. But Jordan was so far above everybody else. That's why he's the number one best player of all time. But you have to compare against what they did against their peers. That's the fair way to do it. We're going to talk about people here soon. We're going to talk about a guy later on here soon that I know you have a great story about.
It's the best story since Gilgamesh.
Who never even made one Pro Bowl. But here he is higher than guys who were in the Hall of Fame.
Once again, too, it has to be voted on. Like, for him to be that high, too, it's like you look at a guy like Cuff, right? Who's had a great career as a Giant, did these crazy things.
The greatest Giant of all time, you could say, when he retired, basically. That's how good
Yeah. And then you go to, I'm not going to spoil anyone, but we'll call him Gilgamesh. But like I'm saying, like,
compared Jumbo Elliott is a perfect example. Victor Cruz is a perfect example. You got guys who were like the best of their generation, and you're putting these guys next to these guys. I just don't think that's fair. I really don't think it's fair. I'm calling shenanigans.
Eat at shenanigans.
Next up, number 56, Mark Collins, quarterback, played from 86 to 93. Was a one-time first-team one-time second-team All-Pro. I should have wrote that on my notes there. And it was a two-time Super Bowl champion there, just making it in time for the start of that first Super Bowl. And he was the best corner on the Giants for a lot of that Big Blue Wrecking Crew time period there at that point. Definitely deserves a lot of respect for what he did. I'm not sure 56 respect, but he definitely... I'm going to knock like every move now. I'm sorry. It's just like we're getting to that point where I'm going to split the hairs because you can do it. But listen, Mark Collins is a great Giant. He is definitely one of the best Giants to ever play. He definitely deserves respect. In fact, I've gotten the chance to talk to Mark Collins actually too as well. So I did actually invite him on the show one day. We'll see if we can maybe get him on. We got a couple of guys I got to reach back out to actually. Now I think about it, we talked to Sam Garnes about coming out at one point too. So, but yeah, again, number 56 there. Number 55, probably the best or second best Dallas Cowboy coach ever, depending where you want to rank him and Jimmy. And that's Tom Landry, who started off as a defensive back and punter for the Giants from 1950 to 1955. Was a one-time first-team All-Pro, one-time Pro Bowler. Twice he led the NFL in punting yards, and then was our defensive coordinator, including as his last year as a player, 1955 there. And this is that time period where the Giants literally had some of the greatest assistant coaches that became head coaches in the history of this franchise, if not the NFL as a whole. Because you have Tom Landry as your defensive coordinator, and you had Vince Lombardi as your offensive coordinator. Not a bad 1-2 combo. And this is why they went to the championship game almost every single year that time period. Unfortunately, they were like the Atlanta Braves of the NFL and only won one, but they went to the championship game like almost every year.
They showed up to the dance.
Exactly. So next up, this is the biggest shocker on this list so far for me, honestly. And again, this is where I think the old school hate's coming in big time. Steve Owen, offensive lineman and head coach, played with the Giants from 1926 to 1931. Also came out of retirement to play in 1933. One-time first-team All-Pro, and one-time NFL champion as a player. As a head coach, he was our head coach from 1931 to 1952, guys. That's 22 years, guys. Yeah. That's a long time. Like, he probably has I can look it up who has the record, but he probably has the record for longest tenure as the Giants head coach. Two-time NFL champion, and he's a member of the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame there. Yet he's number 54.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's way too high. Way too high. I literally thought he's going to be like number 15, number 20, around there, worst case.
Yeah, in the teens.
I thought he'd be much, much higher. Like I said, a little bit of hate there. A little bit of hate. Especially when you follow him up with a punter. Not trying to be disrespectful, but you're telling me he's just barely worse than a punter. Yeah. The guy was our head coach for 22 years, God damn it. Got 3 rings. 3 rings. He might have the record for most rings earned as a Giant. Like, that's legit where he very well may be. I'm trying to think in my head because, I mean, you think after his 3 at that point, you go into the 1950s to get your rings, your next ring, and then you don't have anything till the 80s. So he probably does. Now, if you want to include like Ronnie Johnson, the head trainer, who's got all 4 of the Super Bowl rings, but I'm talking about like player coaching staff. He has probably the most rings of anybody in Giants history. He's a Hall of Famer, and you put him at 54.
Blatant disrespect. Should move him up into the 40 spots.
Straight is. Like, if I was actually kin to him, I'd be pissed. I'd be publicly pissed. I really would. I'm pissed that he's not even kin to me. I don't know why I take it so personal. I do. I really do. Like, it's a slap in the face. Number 53, though. Dave Jennings, punter. Played from 1974 to 1984. Clearly better than a Hall of Fame coach and player for the Giants. 1984, last year, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro, led the NFL in punting twice, led him in punting yards twice, I should say, led him in punts overall once, and yards per punt once as well. And listen, if you knew about the Giants in the 70s, they punted the ball a lot because they sucked. So I'm just calling like it is, guys. So having a very good punter was a very big thing because you get to punt the ball quite often when you're a shitty team. We know this all too well, guys. Think back to last year. The Scottish Hammer got quite the workout with his legs.
Hey, listen, he proved a lot from all that kicking he had to do.
He had a lot of practice during the games. So, but again, no disrespect to Dave Jennings. Like, when I talk about these things, I'm really not trying to disrespect the players that I feel like that are ranked too high. But you're going to sit there and tell me that a Hall of Fame player and a Hall of Fame coach is 1 spot worse than a punter who punted the ball for 11 years. Like, that's insanity. That's absolutely insanity, guys.
Bonkers, if you will.
And we're going to have the next guy who played the same position he did and is not in the Hall of Fame. Number 52, David Deal, offensive lineman, played literally every single position but center at some point for the Giants. 1-time Pro Bowler, 1-time second-team All-Pro, 2-time Super Bowl champion, and a hell of a good player. He's definitely in that Hall of Very Good. That's where he's at. Not Hall of Fame, like number 54, but Hall of Very Good.
Not retired jersey number, but
but apparently he's ranked higher somehow. We're getting very hateful in this as this list goes on further. Like, again, I respect David Deal. The man did a lot for us. I'm sorry, 52 and putting this guy higher like that, that's a little ridiculous. There's a lot of bias here going based on this new stuff. And again, it's bias based on Super Bowls, which I get. I get that. And here's probably the greatest example of that. Number 51, Otis Anderson, running back, 1986 to 1992, 2-time Super Bowl champion, rushed for 1,023 yards in 1989, which was by far his best year as a Giant. His best years were really with the Cardinals, back then the St. Louis Cardinals, way before he got to us. When he came into the league, he was like the best running back in the league, basically. You could not touch this guy. He got a couple injuries. St. Louis let him go to us. He was a good change of pace backup kind of running back there for us for many years. And listen, great career with the Giants. He got a couple rings. He's in the Ring of Honor and everything. But 51?
Otis, if you listen, come on show. Come on.
I seriously,
remember this mustache?
I feel like I'm being rude when I say it. I really feel bad. Like, it's making me feel bad here, guys. But you're talking about the guy spent 7 years with us, had 2,274 yards in 7 years. Yeah.
But he won us 2 Super Bowls.
It doesn't take a genius to figure that part, that, yeah. Just, yeah. I know. I'm mean. I can't help myself.
He's so mean.
The guy averaged 3.2 yards per carry as a Giant, and he's number 51. No.
He's a hell of a guy, though.
Listen, again, great career, had over 10,000 yards rushing. Is a guy that really probably should get another look as a potential Hall of Famer. Even 10,000 yards is like a plateau for me that you get in that conversation.
Yeah,
but he's getting that conversation because of the fact that he ran for 8,000 yards in the 8 years he was in St. Louis. That's a hell of a career. He's probably on their top 100 if they ever get one. But,
you would imagine so.
Yeah, but no, I'm sorry. That's just a little ridiculous. All the love for Otis Anderson and what he did for us, but sorry, that's a little revisionist history looking at the more modern players and ignoring the fact that you literally put a guy that's in the Hall of Fame 3 spots ahead of him, 3 spots below him. Insanity. I really think that we need to sit down with Bob Papa and discuss the old school Giants with him. We need to.
If you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.